session we'll be seeing on the Spss data editor. In the Spss data editor, you come to the bottom of the data editor. You find the two tabs given over here. One is your data view and one is your variable view. So what is this data view and what is this variable view? So data view is similar to your Excel spreadsheet, same like your column and row, right? Column and row. It works similar to the Excel that we can do. So we can add the values, we can copy the value, and we can paste the value similar to that we have been already doing in Excel, right? And you have one more view called variable view, where we have to give the Spss a particular information. So when you go to variable view, you find that you have about 10 columns given over here, right? You have the name column, then type, with decimals, label, values, missing columns, assign, measure, and role. So you have 10 columns given over here. So let us assume that we have to give the variables over here. These are your variables. Normally the column part in the data view, these are the variables that we have to give the name to it, right? In similar way, in the row side, these are the respondent, or what is the, when you prepare a questionnaire and the particular one respondent will be giving responses to a particular questionnaire, right? So that one respondent is number 1, or respondent 2, respondent 3. Suppose you have the samples of 100 sample size is there, and you have first sample is this one, second sample, third sample, fourth sample, fifth sample. So, and depending upon that, you would have framed the questions. Maybe what is the name of the, normally we don't ask name actually, and it could be on anything, perceptions of a customer perceptions to a retail marketing or digital marketing, or it could be anything. The study could be anything, and we normally frame the questionnaire. Or maybe we'll be asking the annual income, the age, right, and perception towards in a Likert scale, right, strongly agreed, disagree. So those questions can be turned into variables, and we'll be asking the gender, the age, right? So these are the part that normally we do. We'll take a simple example of entering the variables in the variable view. So I take this example, say customer perception on digital marketing. So this is just taken as assumption. Actually, this has to be remodified. This topic has to be remodified, but for understanding purposes, right? So you have the 3 variables. Suppose we have these 3 variables. We have the respondents, then we have the second variable, the gender, and the third variable called age, right? So we work with this with the understanding purposes. So you have the respondent A, who is a male and his age is 20. And respondent B, female 21, C, male 22, and respondent D, female 21. So just remember this one, and we'll be just working on this one, right? So in the variable view, you come to the first column. The first column, the variable view, is the name, right? In this, we have to type the variable name. So in this case, we have 3 variables. One is respondents, one is gender, and one is age. So I can type the name as respondents, then I type one more variable called gender, then one more variable called age. So you find that automatically the values start listing over here, and when you go to data view, you find we have the 3 variables given over here. One is respondent, gender, and age. So these are the responses, one responses will be going to get. So actually we are getting 4 respondents, right? So we can type the values over here also. The next column, the second column after the name, is type. The next column is type. So type column will, when you go to the type column and I click here, click the cell of next to the respondent, you find a small box which gives you 3 dots. So when you click the 3 dots, it will open a dialog box called variable type dialog box. So it will help you out in entering what type of data or what type of the variable, that the value that you want to enter, whether it is a numeric value, or is it a date value, or is it a string value. Okay, depending upon the data that you collect, it may differ, right? Normally, broadly, we mean the variable has numeric. Defaultly, it will just put it in numeric one. Suppose there is a situation where you have to convert that into string. Suppose it is in text format, you can change that into string. So in the similar way, when you type the radio button of the numeric, in the right hand side you find that defaultly the width is 8 and decimal places is 2. If I click the string radio button, you find the minimum characters is 8. If you want the name of the particular respondent is very large, you can increase the character also. maybe 15 characters, 12 characters, right? That can be changed. So this will help you out in determining what type of the data your variable is, right? So in this, well, changing the width and decimal places will not alter any analysis part. The statistical analysis part will not be get altered while you change the width and decimal places, right? It is only for the display purposes. Normally we work on that, right? Then after the type, you have the width column, right? So width column is the minimum default is 8. Let's suppose I change this to say a character. I put it as respondents as name. Okay, I put it as string, right? And okay. So in this case, you have 8 over here. Suppose I reduce this to say 4 or 3, and I go to the data view and I type the respondent here as say a big name. Say I put the name as say Maharaja. It will not enter, right? It will not enter. So because we have only 3 characters over here. So in this case, you can increase the character width, say 6, 7 or 8 or 10. So here go to data view and I type here. Now it comes, right? So this is the useful for the width part, right? Next comes your the decimal. So decimals defaultly it will remain as 2. So in this case, we don't want to. Suppose I need the response of say respondent say 1 in this case. So it will not give you. Suppose I change this to increase the decimal to 2. Say it's a string, right? So I'll just change this to numeric, right? And I increase the decimal 2 decimal places. So in this case, you find it will give you the 2 decimal places 1.000. You have the 2 decimal places 1.00. Or you want to increase the decimals to more than 2, you can increase it 3, 4, and you go to data view, find that it goes for 4 decimal places. So normally depending upon the values that we have, which has been collected from your questionnaire, we can change that, right? So normally you don't want for respondents, that is we require respondent 1, respondent 2, respondent 3. We can go for that. So I'll just put it as remain as 0. So once this has been done, then coming to your 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th part, 5th column, that is your label, right? So what is this label actually gives? Label will be help you out in putting your variable name in the output window. So whatever the variables that you put, maybe the short form, say for respondent as res, and for gender I put as GAN, gen, and for age put as age. So this the typed name in the label will help you out to show in the output window. So the output window can also be altered depending upon the situation we require, right? This can also be done with the help of the changing the options itself, right? So in this case, go to edit. From the edit, go to options. You click the options. You find that an option dialog box will open. So in this case, you go to the output over here, the last part. You click that output, and in this, it gives you variable in item labels shown as. So in this case, you can change the labels, or you don't want to, suppose the label can be remain blank also. It up to you, right? It up to you depending upon the requirement, right? So suppose you require the names itself, so it will take only the names into the output window for displaying the charts and the output, right? And in the table. Similar way, you want both the names and labels, it will take the consideration of names and labels. So normally we make it labels itself because I want this to be displayed in the output window. So it will just remain as labels. That put presses as okay, right? Then this is your viewer window. I'll just discuss you once this has been completed, right? Now we are just concerned with the labels. If we click on the cell next to the label, we have the values over here. This value will be giving you this will be mostly helpful for the coding part, right? In this case, a respondent we are mostly a numerical value, okay? Gender also, you say that it is a string, it's a categorical variable where we can give in coding also. And age is a numerical variable, so there is no need to give any code. So normally coding part can be given the values column. So in this case, gender, I can give a code for the gender, right? Just click the particular cell, okay, next to the gender, and you have the box. Click that. You find that a value labels dialog box will open. In this case, you can put the value for the particular name. For say for male I put 1, 2 for female, it could be anything, 0 or 1, 1 or 0. So there is no order and all, right? So you can put any values as per your requirement. So I put 1 for say male, and once I type that, you find that the add button will get activated, and I just click it, and you find that it will just shifted to this box. So value 1 is assigned to the male. In similar way, I put it as 2 and I type here female, and I put it as add. So this female variable, okay, is assigned a value called 2. So 2 means female, 1 is male, right? It is up to the researcher how he just feeds the data into the this part, right? And press OK. So that now it is okay, right? Next comes, after the values, you have the missing column. Now the missing column will specify what are the missing values you have over there. So maybe in this 100 samples or 120 samples or 150 samples, whatever the researcher will be collecting, there may be a situations where the respondent may not respond to a particular question, right? It may remain, the data may be remaining blank. He may not respond to that. So at that cases, you have the missing values often in a particular variables. So in that case, you just click the cell in the missing column and click the box. You find that it shows a missing value dialog box. So defaultly in the radio button, it has clicked that no missing values is there, right? And if you want the missing values to be shown, we have to type some values, how many missing values are there. So defaultly the Spss is allowing us up to 3 discrete values that we have to enter, or you can go for the range plus 1 option discrete missing values that you can enter. So this we'll be discussing when we'll be working with the questionnaire part, right? Questionnaire and analysis part. Then we get into the missing values in more detail. Then after the missing column, you have the columns. So in this column, so in the data view, you have the column, right? So if I increase the column size, so I'll just increase the column size, say 14, and go to data view, find that the column is increased little bit. And suppose you want the column to be more larger, I put it to say 40, and you go to data view, find that the column 1, which is respondent, has this size of 40, right? So it just, the width has been increased, right? The width of the column has been increased, and defaultly it remains as 8. I'll just type it as 8 and remain at 8. And next, after the column, you have the align. So the align column, we can specify where our data to be, whether it is to be in right alignment or left alignment or center alignment. It is similar to your Word, right? In the Word document where you type in whether it is a left align or right align or center line. So similar to that. So depending upon the as for the user requirements, you can change that. So this will not affect your statistical analysis. Mostly this is used only for the display purposes, mostly for the user or the researcher who is using the software. For him, it becomes easy for him to view, right? Then comes your, after align and columns, you have the column called measure. So in this measure, you have 3 types of measures that you have given. Okay, the variables, what are the variables, right? So what are the variables? Could be a scale variable, it could be the ordinal, it could be nominal. So it's like type of data. So in the scale data, scale data could be an interval data. Suppose you're going to ask an annual income directly. If you go and ask a respondent an annual income, he will not say. So normally what we do, we put a interval data, say 0 to 20,000, 20,000 to 40,000, 40,000 to 60,000, and greater than 60,000. So this is like interval data. Or you can, the ratio data can also be put for scale. It could be for the weight or age, right? So this can also be done under scale data. Then you have the ordinal data. So ordinal data normally we put for the orders. Suppose you have the qualifications is normally order, right? Say 12 standard, then you have degree, then you have the PG degree, then you have MPhil, then you have PhD, and higher studies. If you want professional courses, go for higher studies. So those are your ordinal data. Then nominal data is mostly categorical in nature. So categorical data, it could be the color of your eye, right? Color of your hair, or be a gender. So gender is a categorical data. So in that case, you can just select the particular variable. So in this case, we have the variable gender, where we have 2 categories. So depending upon the user, depending upon the researcher, you may find the 3rd category also. It's up to you, right? So gender, broadly, defaultly I put it as male and female. So we have 2 categories. male and female. So for categorical data, you can choose the nominal into consideration, right? Then you have the last one is role, where we'll be working it one. We're going to do the analysis part, right? So input is mostly these variables of input, and the partition, we have to do the partitions depending upon the analysis, where the advanced analysis has to be done, and we can split the particular variable and we can start analyzing on that, right? So this is the basics of your statistics data editor.